It came out of nowhere, but here we are, 4.6, it's upon us. Let's dive right the heck in and see what this bad boy is all about. First and foremost, the most obvious thing you're going to notice when you first jump into the game, and Luther will be more than happy to tell you about, is this new stuff up here. So obviously I'll get into this in a little bit, but I think what's most important to talk about first is the change to the Explore mode. So this patch is all about the changes to the Explore mode. So obviously when you're doing Explorers, the goal of Explorers hasn't changed. You're still farming for arcane trade stones as its primary goal, its primary thing. For early game players that are still trying to get trade stones, this is still the way you do it. You can still do it just as easily as you always could. The difference now is that the Explore mode has all of this gamification added into it. Gamification in a game, heck yeah. So there's now difficulty levels you can pick. So if you're just trying to do your regular trade stone farming, this is definitely the level you want to stay at. Difficulty 1, these fights will be just as easy as they've always been. You can run on through, and the benefit is that you'll actually be able to get some other benefits as you're doing your Explores. So for early game players, this is actually pretty nice. Now you're exploring for your trade stones as you always had, but you're actually getting some other benefits as you do it. So what are those benefits? Let's talk about those. So Explore fights are now done in runs, so once you pick an initial level of difficulty, you're going to be able to do 4 fights of that level of difficulty. So in this situation, I've turned it to level 12, which is the max, and then I'm going to run through and do my fights, and as a result, I'm going to, every time I go through these 4 fights, unlock a mini-boss fight. So running through the Explorers as you normally do will unlock the mini-boss, you fight the mini-boss, and then you will be getting myth stones, and then myth stones you use to unlock the mythic boss fight, and then the mythic boss fight unlocks the tokens. That's a brand new resource. I will talk about that in a sec, but let's just show you real quick what this actually ends up looking like. So we've completed all of our fights for the regular Explore mode, and we've unlocked the mini-boss battle. The cool thing about the mini-boss battle is that this is actually basing the team that you're going to fight on the kingdom you're in. So it looks like I'm in Whitehelm here, if I can read underneath that, which means that I'm going to be fighting a legendary from the Whitehelm kingdom, so in this case it's Holy Saint Astra, and then the game uses its built-in team builder for Whitehelm troops to basically make the rest of the team. So whenever you're doing a mini-boss fight, just know that the team you're going to fight is some legendary from that kingdom, and then some team-builded troop lineup that kind of goes with them. So that's the way that your mini-boss fights are always going to look. So here we beat the actual mini-boss fight, and you'll notice that things look a little different on this screen. I got an arcane trait stone, so hooray for that, we can still get those. However, I did get a reward of these myth stones that we talked about, and when you see this mythic boss battle unlocked thing, what this actually means is that I got enough myth stones now that I can actually fight the mythic boss. So you jump back in here, it gives you a little high five, and then it'll tell you how many myth stones do you actually have, and then this will allow me to actually do the mythic boss fight. What's worth noting about this is that the only way I can continue to do things here is to actually do this mythic boss fight. So I can't abandon this anymore. I'm gonna either have to attempt to do this mythic boss fight or do an Explorer somewhere else if I don't feel like doing the mythic boss fight right now. Admittedly, there's not a great reason to avoid doing it, so if you've already gotten this far, you might as well actually just do the fight. But the way that the mythic boss fight works is very similar to the way the mini boss fight works. So when you jump into the mythic boss fight, it'll take the mythic troop from the kingdom, so in this instance it's Guard's avatar, and it's going to use the team builder to build a team around that. So you run through, you do your fights, you do your mini boss fight, you get enough myth stones to do this fight, and then at the end of this, we see this screen. So what this screen is actually telling us is that we got a boss chest. Hooray for us, we got another arcane trade stone, so we are cranking it with those. But then you get rewarded, so you jump in, open up your boss chest, and then this is where you're going to get your tokens. So at the end of the day, you're doing that entire thing and you're going to get your tokens. Hooray for me, this is my first one of Aranea, final answer. But then you get your tokens, and then it just lets you go ahead and do the whole thing over again. Something worth noting is, with the difficulties, this actually introduces a new viable way of gaining gold versus PvP. So if you've seen any of my other content, you know that I generally say PvP is the best way you can gain gold, so when it comes to donating to your guild or upgrading your kingdoms, PvP is the best way to do it. For early game players, PvP is still going to be the best way to do it. However, for end game players, you now have an option of using your explore fights as a method of gaining gold versus doing PvP fights. The amount of gold you're going to get from this is slightly less than you'd get from PvP. However, the added benefit you're going to get by grinding your gold this way is actually getting all the medals that you're trying to be acquiring for all of your endgame content. So endgame players kind of have a choice now. You can do PvP, which is going to get you the most gold, and it will also get you some really good practice at team building and also get you some really good practice for guild wars. Or you could jump into explore mode and help grind yourself some more medals and ultimately be getting a decent amount of gold as well as getting some arcane trade stones. So an interesting option for everybody. I think all endgame players are probably going to be leaning on Explore versus PvP since we all have a lot of work to do. However, eventually it'll probably balance out to the point where both options are viable as far as gold gaining. I would recommend most people do them from Explores, however, especially now that the patch just came out. The other thing I want to highlight is the ability to get bonus myth stones. So you'll see that there's this little icon that exists. When you're on the world map, you'll see these little orange icons. This means that you're going to get a bonus to your mythstone gain by attempting to do your explores in this kingdom specifically. What's noteworthy about this is that once you run through the explores in one of these kingdoms, this bonus is going to move to some other kingdom. So basically every single time you do an explore run, make sure you jump out of this kingdom and find the next one that has the bonus and do that one. And then when you complete this one, that bonus is going to move to some other kingdom, you go find that kingdom and you go do it there. The nice little side benefit of all of this is that you're going to just be naturally gaining all of the different arcane trait stones as you jump around. So you'll be getting the maximum myth stone bonus by constantly following wherever this little icon goes, but you'll also be getting a very balanced amount of arcane trait stones by doing it this way. So follow the orange light here, always be exploring wherever this light exists. If you're exploring where that light doesn't exist, then you're not necessarily doing it correctly. To access the new tokens and badges and medals section, you go ahead and click one of your little diamonds up top here. So when you click into this will give you your inventory essentially of all the tokens and badges and medals that you have. So when it comes to tokens, these are the things that you're getting as a reward by doing all of the explore fights. So when you're actually opening up that boss chest after the mythic fight, these are the things you're getting. They're these tokens. They all come with their own respective rarity. So you can see I still haven't gotten a ton of these just yet. I've been playing for a few hours. But you get these tokens, and what these tokens actually do is nothing. They're a resource that you need to upgrade. So once you actually upgrade the tokens, that's when they become these things, which are badges. So badges are starting to get interesting in the sense that now I can actually do something with these. So badges are actually giving you minor interesting benefits. This one's giving me 2 armor to all of my troops. This one's giving me 2 life to all of my troops. This one's giving me a 10% chance to cleanse a troop at the start of every single turn. So this is all super fun. And what's really nice about all of this is that this applies to every single troop that I have. So the moment I attach this badge up here, every single troop in my arsenal is getting +2 armor. If I attach this one, every single troop is getting +2 life. So normally, to get these stat bumps, you would have to be leveling up all of your kingdoms all the way up to level 10, spending like 120 some odd thousand gold just to get it. Now you can just kind of farm one of these badges and you're getting a bunch of stuff. So that's pretty darn cool. And then we also know that there's medals. So what medals are really pumped up versions of badges. So if a badge does one thing, the medal does 4 times whatever that is. So if you remember, the badge of Cedric was doing a 10% chance, the medal of Cedric is doing a 40% chance. So the way that this all works is that 3 tokens will upgrade to a badge, and then 3 badges will upgrade into a medal. And that is how tokens and badges and medals work. So again, once you get all of these farmed up, they'll allow you to attach them up here globally, and then you can kind of never have to worry about farming medals again from a global benefit perspective. Something that's worth noting about the medals is that there's kind of different rules when it comes to whether they stack or they don't stack. So if they're giving stat bumps, they all stack, so 3 of these medals will give you 3 different instances of this benefit. However, the starting percent mana one will not give you extra benefit. So running 3 medals of Anew, for instance, is not giving you 60% mana start. It's not giving you some diminishing returns, it's just 20% max. So running 3 medals of Anew makes no sense, just one, you'll get the benefit, that's it. However, the Medal of Cedric is very interesting. So Medal of Cedric, the way this is actually working is that by applying 1 medal, you're getting this 40% chance that all of your troops are going to cleanse. So that is what 1 does. If you have 2 of these, it does 2 separate 40% chances. So it'll basically check all your troops once, and there'll be a 40% chance that actually works. If that doesn't work, the next medal will attempt to try and do the same thing, so there's another 40% chance. And then if that doesn't work, the next medal, if you had another one attached, would try again with another 40% chance. So the folks on the boards have done the math on this. I believe it's like a high 70%, it's like 79 to 80%. So if you happen to have 3 medals of Cedric attached, every single turn you have an 80% chance roughly to cleanse yourself. So obviously this is pretty darn crazy. The one little bone I'll throw to everybody is that stun will actually stop this as far as we know. So if you stun a troop, the medal benefits are no longer applying. And as you can tell by looking at the medals, honestly that doesn't really change anything. The only thing it changes is this. So stun just became an extremely effective PvP tool because, as you can imagine, running 3 of these medals is going to be a very common strategy when it comes to guild wars, more than likely, for instance. And having stun on your team is going to basically turn that team's entire benefit of running these medals off. So when it comes to medals, this is the only one that really has any kind of major stacking benefit as far as these percents go. All the stats will stack, of course, but the Medal of Anew does not stack. Worth mentioning, just so you know. I will mention that for the early game player, being able to farm up these medals is extremely advantageous. So when you're first starting out, let's just pretend, let's say you have 20 attack and 20 armor and 20 life. Getting a bunch of medals of attack, for instance, is going to give you 12 extra attack than you already have. So when you have 20 attack today and you attach 3 of these medals and now suddenly you have 32 attack, that is pretty significant of an upgrade compared to all the stuff you're going to be fighting. So for early game players, my recommendation would be make sure you jump in here and do your explores. I would invest enough time in here to get medals that you can apply up here, and then stop looking at medals and badges and tokens from that point of view. You can obviously keep farming them as much as you'd like, but I would not invest into the system beyond these globals. This is the area, once you get these filled out, the early game player is going to benefit a ton from this. The late game player is going to benefit, but not nearly as much as somebody in the early game. So have fun farming all that stuff. That is the tokens, badges, and medal system as far as the global benefits go. However, there are another place that you can use these bad boys. Let's take a look. So I'm looking at my troop screen. Why am I looking at that? Well, we got medals now. So when you have a troop that is all the way leveled, all the way traded, all the way ascended, now you can start to do stuff with medals. So the way it was described that the medals work is that basically the base rarity of the troop is going to depend on how easy it is to upgrade them with medals. So if I'm looking at a mythic troop, for instance, you can see that only the mythic level medal is giving me a 100% chance. Everything else is a dramatically reduced rate from there. However, if I was looking at, let's just say, somebody that's not mythic, this common troop, any single thing I throw in there is a 100% chance. So basically the way it was described is that when you're running through and you're actually doing your meddling is the base rarity of the troop is going to be how many of those medals it's going to require to upgrade. So for instance, at level 1, this is going to take just 1 mythic medal on this mythic troop to get them up to the first medal level. However, for the second medal level, it would require 2 mythic medals to be able to get the same 100% chance. And then for the third level, it would require 3 mythic medals to get them up to 100% chance. So these percents are going to get harder as you upgrade here. The good thing is that it's very, very easy to upgrade very low level troops. However, for your mythics to actually get the benefits of medals, you're going to need a lot of medals. So this is all super fun and cool. So for the purposes of upgrading a troop, you can ignore what all of this status text says down here. It's really the rarity of the medals that matters as far as this screen is concerned. But when you're adding into these metals, what are you actually getting out of it? Well, in order to understand what you're getting out of it, there's a couple things you'd need to understand. One is, what is the troop roll? Because every single troop roll in the game is getting the same benefit. So every single troop that's a warrior type, for instance, will get the same benefits once they add in their metals. But what can you do to see what those benefits are? You click the little button right here. It's not really obvious, but this is a button. So if you click this, this will tell you what you're going to get for putting in all your hard-earned metals. So what it's saying is that for the first level I'm getting 2 health stats, for the second level I'm getting another 2 health stats and a magic, and then for the third level I'm getting 2 attack and 2 armor and 2 health and 1 magic. So this is all additive, so this does not mean when I get it up to level 3 here to gold level that I'm only getting 2, 2, 2, and 1. I'm actually getting 4 attack, 2 armor, 6 health, and 2 magic. So the entire thing gets added together. So once I'm at that gold level, that's actually a pretty decent stat bump. And again, every single warrior is going to look exactly like this. So when you're going to metal up your troops, this little handy table that I've thrown together here will actually tell you, for each of the different troop types, these are the different stat benefits that you're going to be able to see. So absolutely, some of these are more interesting than others. You will have to check and see what troop roll that is out there for the troops that you love. Some of these troop rolls are really going to affect like how important of a buff to that they actually are. So aside from all the fun explore stuff that we just chat through, what else changed? Well, not much, but there was one thing that you're gonna love to hear about, and it's about the Orb Weaver class. The Orb Weaver class got a nerf. So this used to be a 50% chance to summon a giant spider, but now it is a 35% chance. So this isn't dramatic, it doesn't change the way the class ultimately functioned or felt, but this is certainly a shot at the life and death meta that's existed and has made that team especially frustrating to fight. So hopefully those teams don't feel as crazy. However, the life and death weapon is still unchanged, so any of the strategies that you would use to normally beat that team are still applying now. However, it might just be a little faster than it used to be. That's kind of fun. The other change that actually took place is also kind of minor, but will be a quality of life improvement for some folks. So for troops that are like Vash, for instance, they've changed the way that lethal damage is applied. So normally you probably heard us talking about how you couldn't devour your own ally that was barriered, for instance. So now someone like Vash is going to actually be able to punch through this anyway. So anything that's doing lethal damage is now ignoring barrier as a result. So someone like Vash is obviously going to be affected by something like that. Someone else like Scorpius, for instance, is also going to be affected by that. So lethal damage now is going to punch through a barrier potentially anyway. So lethal damage now is actually lethal no matter what. So if a troop is buried, it doesn't matter, it's just going to kill them. So anyone with lethal damage capabilities definitely got a nice little buff there. And that is everything. So this update is definitely pretty dang crazy, and I think it's going to be pretty darn fun for everybody. So look forward to future video content. I'm going to give you a deep rundown of what the best troops to actually metal are. I already have started a gross spreadsheet with tons of content in it. Unfortunately, I want to get this video up so you guys can at least see this bit, but I'll give you the more deeper analysis later on in the week. But as always, I love each and every one of you. Happy exploring, and I will catch you in the next one.